I'm appreciate to talk with you one more time because we have a conversation in the end of the 2023, and we have a lot of the events to come. And my first question to you, Ambassador John Bolton, what is the result for Ukraine of the NATO summit in Washington? What is the most interesting thing for our listeners and our viewers from your point of view? What it take to Ukraine to next level to cooperate with the NATO, or just so it's your position, please. Your table is yours.
Well, I think that the outcome of the NATO summit was about as encouraging as might have been expected. I think the continued display of NATO unity against Russia's unprovoked aggression is important to tell the rest of the world that the alliance remains united. The difficulty, of course, the unspoken difficulty at the summit was the U.S. presidential election in November. And, since the summit, President Biden has withdrawn. Kamala Harris is about to become the Democratic nominee. Everything has been thrown up into the air. We have about 100 days to go until the election as we speak. And I think at this point, the outcome is undecided. But Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, have made it clear that they would seek a very different policy. We don't know exactly what that will be because with Trump, you never know exactly what will be what comes out of his mouth. And sometimes in the U.S. Congress and even within the Republican Party, in the Senate and to a lesser extent in the House, is strong. But foreign policy is made in the United States largely by the president. And so if Trump is elected, it will take a lot of work and a lot of persuasion to keep the assistance 19 in the famous phone conversation between Trump and Zelensky, and certainly Trump hasn't forgotten it. So it is particularly important to see if Trump wins what he might be persuaded to do after the election is over.
And I have another question. Is it true that Trump could withdraw all the United States of America from the NATO? Will the election of the Trump lead to more isolation policy from the United States of America? And do they not abolish all their duties before the European allies in the face of the threat from the Russian Federation and other countries?
Possibility that Trump would withdraw from NATO. And I think it's important to face this head on. A lot of people are saying, oh, he wouldn't do it. It's not that bad. He's actually going to strengthen NATO. I tell you, I was in the room with him in Brussels at the 2018 NATO summit. I wrote about it at length in my book. He was very close to withdrawing from NATO then. And that was before the Russian invasion, obviously. He doesn't understand collective defense alliances. He thinks basically that the United States is defending Europe and they won't pay for it. He doesn't appreciate that in a strong functioning alliance like NATO, the United States benefits, that our security is enhanced. Certainly the security of European members is enhanced, but so is ours. And I think it'll take a lot of work to try to convince him to stay in NATO and to stay the course in supporting Ukraine. His supporters are constantly offering ideas about what a Trump policy would look like. I don't think you can take any of them seriously because I'm not sure Trump even reads them or cares what they say. This isolation part is not part of a coherent approach. He does not have a national security philosophy. He does not do policy in the same sense we understand that word for almost everybody else in American politics. A lot depends on what he sees as the benefits to Donald Trump of a particular approach. And that would be a strong argument to say to him he doesn't want to be.
Okay, and what is your forecast regarding the United States assistance to Ukraine after the election? Doesn't matter. Will it be Trump or Democrats? Will they increase the numbers of the weapons they send to Ukraine? Because now it's only a limited number of the weapons, and Ukraine now struggle or even suffer on the front lines. Because if you want to be in a good position before any kind of the negotiations, you must show to your enemy that you are strong enough. So what is your forecast about maybe 6 months or 8 months?
If Harris wins, my prediction would be that the policy will continue essentially as has been under assistance to Ukraine approach, because it has not developed a plan of assistance that's based on a strategy. First, you debate whether we send this weapon systems, and we debate it for 3 months, and then we say yes. Then you debate, do we send the next weapon system, and that takes 3 months, and then the answer is yes. This has gone on for over 2 years, and it has also hurt the entire alliance effort to assist Ukraine. And all, even though we didn't deter them from invading Ukraine in 2022, we're the ones who are liability of waging. So by saying that the Biden administration policy will continue, I don't think that's totally good news for Ukraine. I think it means the same non-strategic policy that Biden has been pursuing. Under Trump, he said publicly he would get Zelensky and Putin in a room together, and he'd solve the problem in 24 hours. Now, of course, that's ridiculous, and Trump probably knows that. But if he did get Zelensky and Putin in a room and couldn't reach a deal, that would not be Donald Trump's fault, because it's never Donald Trump's fault. So it will have been the fault of somebody else in the room. And I worry that Trump's relationship with Putin would make it more likely than not that Trump would conclude it was Zelensky's fault. And so the end result would be a deal favorable to the Russians. So I want to underline how serious the concern should be of what U.S. policy would turn out to look like if Trump won. You can't close your eyes to that reality. Not much you can do about it before November, but the question that matters to Donald Trump is it in Donald Trump's interest? So think about that.
And what about the J.D. Vance and his role in the foreign policy? And what is your opinion about the J.D. Vance and his role in the foreign policy?
So I think Vance will try to echo what Trump says about Ukraine rather than try and move him in a particular direction. But where Trump has impulses that make up his decisions, because Vance is much brighter, he can put an isolationist policy in a coherent context, which in my view makes him more dangerous than Trump. I think it's important to try and find ways to explain to Vance that the foundation of his view that Ukraine is not important is wrong. His argument is the U.S. has limited capabilities. We can't bother with Europe anymore. We can't bother with the Middle East anymore. The main threat is China, and that's where we have to put our resources. I think we've got more resources. We need to have the will to put them into play. And I think that the idea that China is a threat only in Asia is incorrect. The China-Russia axis makes it a threat around the world, especially in Europe, where China has aided Russia in many respects over the past 2.5 years now. So Vance's theory is wrong, but I think he's very malleable when it comes to policy. But the rule that he follows is I want to think out what Donald Trump might do, and that's where he wants to be.
Yeah, thank you for your opinion. And it's just without any rumors that the J.D. Vance has very limited experience in the foreign relations. And maybe the last question: what is your point of view upon the current Biden administration? What he can do for the last 3 months to be a president? What kind of the measures he can do to stop this war, maybe, or just to push the Putin to the negotiations on the Ukrainian peace formula?
Well, he has 6 months until his term expires on January the 20th of next year. And I think there are a lot of things that he could do that do not require any further congressional action. Decisions he could make, for example, on targets that are permissible to Ukraine using American supplied weapons. Same kind of decision to try and persuade the other NATO allies to loosen some of their restrictions, trying to provide more targeted intelligence and information that can help in targeting, making decisions, for example, that would allow Ukraine to destroy the Kerch Strait Bridge, which would be a terrible blow for the Russians, and other steps like that. Again, these are steps the president could take without congressional approval, and I think Ukraine and its supporters should be thinking of things that Biden could decide between now and January the 20th. That is the most important thing, regardless of whether Harris or Trump wins, that Biden should not leave office with things undecided that might help Ukraine make progress against the Russians.